Hey, what's up guys? It's ex-mormon with My Spiritual Life, and happy Halloween! Even though this is probably going to be posted way later, today is actually Halloween while I'm recording that, which is why my hair looks so fun today, because gotta dress up. Today I'm going to be talking about 6 tips that I have for you guys that I wish that I had during my faith crisis. Okay, here we go. Tip number 1. You're not crazy. This is the first tip I put on there because when you are deconstructing years and years of conditioning on a certain subject, you feel like you're insane. And especially because a lot of reactions from high demand religion members is to respond to your very valid concerns with a lot of dismissiveness. So you're not crazy. Your concerns are valid. And you can feel like the crazy one when everyone keeps telling you things like, you didn't know Joseph Smith was a polygamist? I've known that for years and I still have, it made my testimony stronger. It actually made it, so it should make yours stronger. Guys, I'm not good at voices as Jared is, okay? Another thing a lot of members might say to you that can make you feel crazy and make you feel very dismissed is, what sources are you getting that from? Are you getting that from LDS approved sources? Because if you're not, well, no wonder you're so upset. It's probably not true. Do you really want to leave the church over something that's definitely a lie that Satan made up to try to trick you into leaving the church? So yeah, my first tip is you're not crazy. If something's bothering you, whether it's doctrine, whether it's history, whether it's church culture, it's valid to be concerned about those things, and just because it doesn't concern other people doesn't mean you're broken if it concerns you. Tip number 2. God is not going to smite you or hate you for leaving or questioning the church. Now, I can't prove this, except for the fact that I have not been smote yet. That is my only anecdotal evidence that I can present today. I don't necessarily know what my belief is in God right now, but I will say that one of my biggest fears during my faith crisis was that God was going to hate me for doubting or for having questions or for researching, and it really, really scared me. I was taught growing up to put a lot of emphasis on pleasing God, and you need to do the things to please God, and if not, God's not going to be very happy. And this kind of ties back to my first point, because then you start to feel like your concerns aren't very valid because people come up with weird answers as to why something would be what it is. There's still a lot of LDS members teaching that fossils were put there to test your faith. So when you start researching about the Book of Mormon not being accurate historically, or Joseph Smith treating his wives badly, then you start to question wait a second, this doesn't add up. And then you think, wait, was this also somehow a test of my faith? Did God remove all the evidence of the Lamanites and their steel and their horses just to confuse me? That just sounds like God is toying with me. And again, God might be. I have no proof otherwise. But I will say that it sounds ridiculous.
Oh, silly goose. Girl, I can't believe that you think the earth is older than 6,000 years old.
Why would I not think that? Science and carbon dating and fossils? All of that is pretty evident that the earth is older than 6,000 years old.
Fossils? Sweetie, you fell for that? I just put those on the ground to mess with y'all. I mean, a triceratops? You think that kind of thing would exist? Heck, I got that off Jurassic Park.
I don't think God hid a bunch of evidence just to test your faith. I think that's weird and confusing, and it doesn't make sense to me. So that's why my tip number 2 is don't worry so much about this being somehow God's big prank on you. Tip number 3. Even if your family doesn't understand you or doesn't understand your reasons, doesn't understand your decision, you are going to be okay. One of my biggest fears, obviously, with leaving the church was rejection of family or friends or my community. And what I learned through this all was, yes, there was some rejection, and yes, it sucked. But I survived. I was okay. The sun still rose in the direction that it rises and set in the direction that it sets. I always get that mixed up. I think east to west. Anyway, you get the idea. The sun is going to keep going. You're still going to be alive. And whether or not your family accepts you, you're going to be okay. We all want to be accepted. We all desperately, desperately want to be accepted. And it's normal. But you got to remind yourself that life is too short to spend it living away to please other people. You have to do what feels right for you. Tip number 4. Your family's happiness is not your responsibility. Now, this kind of ties into the last one. It's really hard. We want that family approval so much. We want to keep the family rules and the loyalty. It's deeply ingrained in us to want to remain loyal to our family traditions. And it's so hard when we feel like we're upsetting the family dynamic to an extreme that's causing them discontent. You know, I've heard of people where their mom will call them up and I'm crying myself to sleep every night because you left the church. And it hurts, and it's hard not to feel like it's your fault. But the truth is, their happiness is not your responsibility. And the sooner you can understand that, the sooner you can let go of the guilt of their reaction and actually just feel better about what's going on. Remember, it's going to feel like it's your fault sometimes because they are upset and their upsetness is directed at you. But the truth is, if you dig deeper and think about why are they really upset, well, they're really upset because they're afraid of something. They're running on some kind of belief in their mind that's causing them to be afraid. And the truth is, Mormon doctrine is a lot more forgiving than a lot of high-demand religions. So usually whatever belief they're running on, it's not even actually doctrine-based. It's like cultural-based, like, oh, you're going to become a drug addict, or your kids are going to be sad, or like you're going to become an alcoholic or a prostitute, or just like ridiculous things. And if you can understand that their discontentness is actually based on their fears and their beliefs and not actually having much to do with what you're doing, then you can let go of some of that guilt because it's not your fault they're upset. It's their belief, it's their perspective that's causing them to be upset and not you. Easier said than done, but I believe in you guys. Tip number 5. It's okay and important for you to trust yourself. When it comes down to it, you have to make decisions that are right for you and your family. No one will know better what your family needs or what works for your family than you. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes. It just means that your mistakes are going to be based off you making a decision that you believe is best for the family instead of making a decision based on someone who doesn't know you, who's making rules for your family when not knowing anything about your family. So not only is it okay to trust yourself, but it's actually really important that you give yourself space to make decisions for you and your family. Tip number 6. It's going to get easier. It's going to get better. The pain and the confusion really do calm down over time. The family members that maybe were super upset and shocked at first start to kind of adjust to this is your new identity. Now, I'm not saying it always gets better because some people just immediately are ostracized by their family and then that's it. And that's end game. But in my experience, what I've seen is that as people get used to the idea that you're not LDS anymore, they stop freaking out so much. And especially as they see that you're not an alcoholic or a prostitute, that helps too. Additionally, that black, dark void inside of you of not having the answers to everything in life ever that you could want to know about, that starts to heal. Over time, you either find answers that help you fill that void, that void that the lack of answers are creating, or you become more comfortable with just not knowing. You become more comfortable with what you don't know. It gets better. That void used to really be hard for me to handle because I felt like, okay, these aren't the answers, but what are the answers? And I was starved for knowing what the answers are until I realized that it's okay to not know everything, and that it's probably impossible to know everything, and that's also okay. Another thing that starts to happen is you just become more and more confident in yourself as you allow yourself to make decisions for you and for your family. Then it just causes you to be even more confident. And then you worry less about people judging you and about feeling guilty and about God smiting you. Time really does help heal a lot of things. So, if you're knee-deep in a faith crisis, just know you're not alone. You're not crazy. God is probably not going to smite you or hate you.
Oh, like heck I won't smite you. I'm gonna darn y'all right down to heck. Terrestrial heck, anyway.
Even if your family doesn't get you, you're going to be okay. Your family's happiness is not your responsibility. It's okay and important for you to trust yourself, and it gets better. It gets easier. I hope this was a helpful video for you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you want to support us, consider becoming a Patreon, because without our Patreon supporters, this channel would not exist. And we are so grateful that it does. And I know you guys are, because you guys tell me all the time. So thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Is this authentic corpse hair?
Corpse? It's authentic God hair. It's actually taken from God.
Hopefully his head. Here's a skit idea. I'm God, you're Mary, I'm gonna f*** a savior into you.